Pasta la Vista. Is that what we decided on?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of bread is this? Welcome to Pasta la Vista, the cooking channel where we try to help you make decent food with stuff you can find around your house or for really cheap. We don't expect you to have fancy baking utensils or cooking utensils because we don't have them because we're shitty. So today we're going to try to make some easy homemade French bread. We've made it twice before and it's pretty good, so we're professionals, so we're telling you how to do it. So listen the fuck up. All right, you're gonna need olive oil. You're gonna use this to coat your bowls just so the bread doesn't stick. You're gonna need flour, obviously. We would recommend some sort of multi-grain bread flour, but if you just have all-purpose flour, that's fine. You're gonna need some sort of salt, table salt, kosher salt, whatever kind of granulated salt. You're gonna need 2 cups of warm water. So, get that out of your sink. You're also gonna need a measuring device, like measuring cups. We do not have measuring cups for the tablespoon and teaspoons, so we just have a tablespoon and a teaspoon. I would recommend using actual measuring cups, but we're shitty. And then also some sort of bowl to mix the dough in, either a separate bowl to prove it in or the same bowl to prove it in. Whatever kind of bowl this is, metal bowl, I don't know. Some sort of rags that you can dampen and put over the bowl to prove it. And then you're gonna need something to cook the bread on. Today, we're gonna try to make 2 loaves. So we're gonna use just a rimmed baking sheet, any sort of baking sheet or cookie tray. That's everything you're gonna need. You're also going to need yeast, obviously. I didn't forget that on the first go through. We have this lovely, what is this? Fresh yeast. It needs to be kept in the fridge. It expires, it goes bad. It's fresh. It kind of smells not very good. So this is gonna make better bread, but you could also just use the dry active yeast. We would recommend fresh yeast, obviously, but hey, so we're using the fresh yeast. Oh, something else. You might want to use some sort of bread knife, or we have this square thing. I don't know what it is.
It's for tartare.
It's for tartare. Yeah, anything that you can kind of like cut the bread with or manipulate the bread with on your work surface. It's not a necessity, but it'll make your life easier. To start this wonderful bread journey, first you're gonna take a tablespoon and a half of yeast. This looks like a tablespoon and a half. I'm not really sure. You're gonna mix the yeast in the warm water. So you can use your hands, wash your hands. I totally did. I always wash my hands. It's a quarantine right now, so you should be washing your hands all the time. Mix it up. If it's the fresh yeast, it feels like wet clay, and it is weird, but the dry yeast melts into the water the same way, so don't be scared. You're gonna get really dirty during all this. That's why I'm wearing an apron. I normally don't do that. So, once that is all mixed up, make sure there's no clumps in it, pour it into your mixing bowl. It's gonna be a nice milky kind of bread color. So then you're gonna get your dry ingredients ready, okay? This recipe calls for 4 to 4.5 cups of flour. You kind of need to eyeball it and see how it feels. You want a nice, supple ball of dough by the end of this. You may, depending on how much water you put and how much yeast you put, you may end up having a little more or a little less, whatever. I would recommend mixing the salt into the flour because salt has a chemical reaction with the yeast, and you want to kind of try to prevent that for as long as you can. A teaspoon of salt. Now, I'm gonna put a little more than a teaspoon because I like my bread to taste good, okay? So I'll do like a teaspoon and a half. Once you make this recipe once or twice, you'll kind of get a better feel of it, but you want a little salt in your bread. You want your bread to have some flavor. We're not some losers who want some flavorless bullshit bread. We want it to taste fucking good, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it taste good. Mix your salt with your flour. I'm using a little spoon. You can use whatever. Okay, so I would recommend doing this part with your hands. You're gonna get dirty. It's gonna be sticky. There's gonna be shit everywhere. Normally you would have someone help you, but sometimes your girlfriend's not very helpful and just likes to sit and judge. I'm gonna be doing it by myself. I would add about half a cup at a time, just eyeballing it. That was more like a cup. So then just mix it together with your hands, get all the clumps out. This is gonna help for a more consistent dough with less clumps, less blobs of flour in there. So just keep on mixing. Okay, so you can see here that it's starting to resemble more of a batter, more of a dough. Get all the clumps out, like I said, it's very sticky. So then you just keep adding about half a cup of flour and mix it in. Try to get it off the sides. So you should have, fucking fly. Shoot fly.
Just open the window.
So you should have something that resembles this, maybe a little more tight, but be careful, you don't want to put too much flour in it, knead too much, or you're going to get a really dense dough. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to liberally, like Bernie Sanders amounts, flour our work surface. Put a lot of flour on your work surface, guys. I'm telling you, nothing's worse than having dough sticking to your table. You're trying to roll it, it's stuck there. You put more flour, the flour gets stuck on top of the dough that's on the table, so then you lose pieces, and it's a fucking mess, and you get pissed off, and your girlfriend's like, what are you doing? You're like, shut up, I just trying to make a fucking bread. So you don't want to get in that situation, guys. Trust me, it's not fun. That's why we wear an apron. Do whatever the fuck I want. Get your ball wad of dough, scrape it onto your work surface. You don't really need to get everything, but why not, right? I paid for it. So now you're gonna kind of knead it a little bit. You can see that it was a little ugly ball of dough, and now it's becoming a piece of bread. So just kind of work it. And yeah, just keep kneading it until you're happy with the consistency and it feels like, you know, what you assume a ball of dough would look and feel like. So once you have the dough kind of doughy, you know, you can knead it a few more times, get it all together. You want to kind of get it nice and tight. You want to work it into a ball, and then you can do this thing where you use the underside of your hand and the resistance against your cutting surface to kind of tighten it out, kind of go in this spinning motion. You'll see that it kind of comes together. It looks difficult, or maybe it doesn't look difficult. Maybe I'm an idiot, and I thought it looked difficult. But, you know, surprisingly, you get this nice little ball of dough. Yeah, just do that, get it nice and tight. It doesn't really matter right now. I would just get it in the general shape that you desire, like this. We're going to do the first proof, which is where you let the dough sit, you let the yeast kind of activate. It builds up a lot of bubbles. It's gonna grow about twice in size. So we'll get it ready for the proving. We'll show you guys how to get the bowl ready. The bubbles really do grow. You can kind of actually start to see them right now underneath the dough. Okay, time to start the proof. Prove or proof?
Proof.
Proof, with an F. Okay, time to start the proofing process. First, you're going to put your olive oil, a skosh of olive oil, that might have been a little too much, but have no fear, because what we're gonna do, get a paper towel, maybe a regular kitchen rag, whatever. You're just gonna spread it thin on the inside of this bowl. We're using the same bowl we used to mix it. I cleaned it out with no help from my girlfriend. But what I would recommend doing is have a helpful girlfriend, or possibly just have a different bowl. Like I said, we don't have shit in our kitchen. Get a nice layer of oil in there, okay? Nothing crazy, you can't even tell, it's barely oiled. So put that somewhere. Then you're gonna lightly flour the inside of this bowl. Make it to where you feel comfortable that it's not gonna stick. And it's gonna coat the bowl. Just get the extra, dump it on top of the bread or whatever, who cares. So, you're gonna get the bread. You can see it's kind of like it's, so I'm gonna try to get it back into that nice round shape. You want it to be tight, like a tiger. Pick it up, and then you put it in there. I like to put a little flour around the edges. So you can see, here's the dough in the bowl. It actually has already grown a little bit. So next what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a damp rag. So you're gonna cover it like this. Then you're gonna put it somewhere to proof. You can put it anywhere. You can leave it on the table if you want. The best place to do it is in the oven because the oven is inherently warm. So put it in the oven. We're gonna let it proof for an hour. So don't tuck the damp rag underneath the bowl, because if your dough, like ours, is almost already at the top, that'll stop it from growing. Obviously your oven is not on right now. I cannot stress that enough. Not on, just stick it in there and come back in an hour and you're gonna be in for a treat.
1 hour later.
Okay, so now we are going to take our proof out of the oven. You can already see it's gotten fucking humongous. It's overflowing, and you can see why we told you not to tuck the damp rag underneath. Voila, it is huge. You can see the bubbles. So if your dough looks anywhere near this, you're good to go. We're gonna lay this out on our work surface. Personally, we're gonna cut it up into 2 separate loaves, and then we're gonna go for the second proof. As I said before, liberally put a lot of flour on your work surface. You don't want this thing to stick. We're gonna dump this bad boy out. Now you have this wrinkly ball sack of a dough. Okay, so what you're gonna do, You don't want to push the bubbles out. You want it to have bubbles. You want it to be airy. So what we're gonna do is you pull a piece, you fold it in the middle. You pull another piece, you fold it in the middle. You can kind of see I'm pulling at the fold of my pulls. So we'll do this around 2 or 3 times. It's gonna get pretty thick. We're gonna get nice and tight. We're gonna get taut again. Flour, we're gonna fold it over. You're gonna make it tight again. Use the resistance of the dough on your work surface and kind of fold it up underneath itself. I'm just gonna, I have to pop this bubble. It's so sad, but I gotta do it. Yeah, sorry. So, go around, use your hand. You can see now it's kind of back in that original, nice, taut shape. It's not perfect, but you know, we're not perfect. We're human beings, guys. It's okay. Looks pretty good. We're gonna do our final proving. You need to cut your dough into 2 equal pieces. You want to get them into the shape that you want, and then you're going to let those prove separately. So we're going to show you how you would go about it doing 2 separate loaves. So you're going to try to get it as equal as you can. Make sure you got a little bit of flour on this bad boy, or whatever knife you're using. If you're making 2 separate loaves and you just pulled it out of the oven after your first proof, you would separate it there and then you would knead it in the technique that we showed you with the folds for each individual loaf. We're not going to knead it again. Shape this how you want. We've all seen loaves of bread. That's pretty good for me. I'm happy with that. Looks like 2 decent loaves of bread. This one's a little fatter. It's fine. If you took it out of the oven and went immediately to the 2 loaf step, then yours are probably going to be a little more neat and a little more organized. For the 2 dough method, we're going to leave our pieces of dough to proof on the table. We got the wet rag, we lay it over, and also our baking tray, and we're going to let it heat up in the oven. So we're going to do that, and then in 30 minutes we'll come and take a look at these and put them in the oven. Okay, so oven is nice and hot, and our loaves are, can you see the loaves? Woo! So, as you can see, even during the second proving, they grew substantially. The way we cut our bread, I was unsure whether we need to score or not. I think we're going to score. Our knives are very dull. Make sure you use a sharp knife for this. You want to go about 1.5 inches. Whoa, no. You want to go about 1/2 inch into this bread to score it. Since we're doing these long kind of sandwich loaves, so we're going to do 1 long score on 1 loaf, and then a few diagonal scores on the other. I'm gonna score 1 long. Our knives are so fucking dull. Okay, so we put these in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Really, what you want to do is use your eyeballs, look in the oven. If it looks like it's getting a little too dark, you want to take it out, but around that 20, 25, 30 minute mark, you're gonna be good. We're here, our bread is baked. I think we ended up doing it about 30, 35 minutes. Just remember to kind of like eyeball it. The time's gonna be different for your oven. Let's do this, let's see how it looks. Woo, looks pretty good. You can see the scoring on this one is a little more prominent than the one on this one. When you have a sharper knife, it's gonna be a lot better. A good way to tell if bread is baked is if you flick the bottom, it sounds hollow. It sounds pretty hollow to me. What you want to do is let your bread cool for about 20 to 30 minutes. I would say 30 minutes to be on the safe side.
A few minutes later.
Our bread's cooled down, been about 30 minutes. We're going to cut into this loaf. I'm just going to cut it straight down the middle. Ooh. So I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so you can see the air bubbles in there. It looks really nice. There's a lot of space. It's really spongy. Let me eat this. So we hope that this video helped you. It's a learning experience. If you have any questions or comments, put them down in the comment section and we'll try to help. Hopefully your bread turned out just as good as ours, and good luck. Thanks for watching. Pasta la vista, baby. Well, no, it's not. We're not professionals.